Thank you very much, Rachel. I'm afraid with the time that it is right now, we're going to have to wind this up. But before we all go, I think I'd like to ask the panel. We've had a very interesting discussion. We've heard lots of points of difference, lots of points of a common, a sort of consensus, common positions. And I think it would be really helpful if each of the members of the panel could just say very simply what they see out of this discussion, not the entrenched position before you came in here, but out of this discussion, where do you see the potential solution, given all the different points of view? And I'll start with Jean.
Well, I see some more movement and acceptance and rationality on the part of the NGOs and the environmental groups about the need, because if you believe in climate change, if you believe that all of these bad things are going to happen and you have more extreme floods and more longer duration droughts, then the answer to that is not less storage, it's more storage. And we've been working with the Nature Conservancy and other entities in the United States on precisely this part of the problem. So I think there is some common ground here.
It's brilliant. Thank you, Jean. Martin?
Yeah, I would have kind of two aspects. One is that I think for the hydropower, we have already developed this hydropower sustainability assessment protocol together with IAGA and many others. And I think that needs to be kind of now promoted and put forward as a kind of practical implementation of the WCD, World Commission on Dam Standard and Principles. But for agriculture in particular and agricultural purposes, we don't have yet similar kind of assessments made and standards applied. And I think that is something which I would see also as a future kind of work stream which is needed. By the way, I haven't spoken to John before, so I don't know how he can come up with these conclusions.
Rachel.
Sorry. Well, I think that there's more that unites us than divides us, because the one enemy that we all have is time. And if we're going to meet basic needs in the face of food crisis, energy crisis, water crisis, then and we're charting a path that we haven't charted before as civilization. We've never had this many people on the planet, had this level of urbanization, had the needs that we have. And so, you know, I think that the fact that we agree to disagree occasionally and where there is real difference, we actually have the mechanisms for working through at least a conversation, even if we don't end up agreeing, is the good thing, because the one enemy that we all have is time.
Thank you very much. Minister Prabhu.
Yeah, you know, it really brings out very clearly that there is nothing like this is good or that is bad. I think, you know, even too much of water is not good, but that doesn't mean the absence of water is good either. So I think we really need to find out a solution which befits the requirement of a particular society at a given point of time, and that should be done in a manner that will be in harmony with nature. That's my firm belief. But make sure that we do not import any dogmas which will actually create obstacles in allowing you to reap the true potential of your own society. What the society needs at that particular time should be developed by the society. There must be an enlightened ideas to be circulated. And therefore, we must also find out at the same time a holistic solution. Because while solving one problem, we may think it's a good idea that, you know, this is something good. But in the process, we do not create any other problem. So I think that's why we really need this end-to-end solution, find out all these issues put together. And again, water cannot be imported. Water cannot be manufactured. Water cannot even be created. So therefore, we really need to manage the water that is available, particularly in this particular society. And the climate change has added a completely new dimension to it. Because, as I said, it's a casualty, but also the demand for water is going to rise because of climate change. All the crops will need probably more water because of the heat level going up. So that means now we need more than before, but availability is going to be under stress. So how do you deal with that? And therefore, we really need to find out a solution based on this. And I hope we agree on this. And rather than wasting our energy into fighting each other, how can we make sure that we work together? And that's very, very critical. I think I always seen that, you know, when being in the government, our job is not to do academics, you know, to find out ideas, you know, to talk about it. We really need to find out solution. Yes. And that's what this World Water Forum is. Find out solutions. And if you have solutions, then we must have the solution. Of course, I agree that find a solution with widest possible consultation. But if the consultation itself is a solution, then there is a problem. If you can constantly keep talking about it, thinking about it, then probably the problem will compound worse. So we really need to find out how we can work on it.
Thank you, Minister Prabhu. John?
Oops. Yeah, just a couple of comments. Firstly, I think in the last 20 years we've seen an absolutely amazing change in our world due to what China has done, what India has done, what Brazil and some other countries have done. And I think that if we look from the water perspective at that, we will see that all of those countries have made large investments in, as Suresh had said, making water a platform for their economic growth, in reducing their insecurity from floods and droughts. This leaves us with a number of countries, the Brazils, the Indias, the Chinas, able to self-sustain this on the path they're going, and that's fantastic. The poorer countries still face a difficult problem because they need external partners, they need external financing. I think that what Rachel is bringing to the bank is fantastic. I think it's a sense of common sense, feet on the ground. Let's look at the countries that are doing better. Let's help those which are not doing so well to move down that path, depending on what are the solutions, the small, the big, the decentralized, the centralized, that make sense for them. But I think we've seen from the growth in the middle-income countries that there is a way forward. There is a way in which we can reduce poverty, and that water can be a central part of that. And I think this debate for me is a completely different debate from 10 years ago, because the tide is very clear. The tide for the rich countries is, can you be productive helpers to this, or will you be outside putting impediments in the ways of the countries who still have to go down that road? So I think that this is a great and optimistic time for us.
Good. Thank you, John. Gabriel?
Thanks, Maggie. I think I leave this chat with a rather positive view. What I see here today is that we have a lot more common ground views than what we had, as John said, a few years ago. Every one of the institutions here or represented here has a role to play. And as Rachel says very well, no, it is okay to disagree occasionally, but it is also okay to join hands and work together on those things that we can agree on. And I think there's a lot more than we have agreed on today than we have disagreed on. So I leave very optimistic that that's the path forward.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gabriel. And Zachary?
I think that the lasting positive message that we would like to leave is that climate change presents multiple challenges to multiple populations and multiple interest groups. And this is, I think, recognized among the panelists here. And I think the best way to respond to that, given the uncertainty and the risk that climate change brings to these interests and these populations, is to be as flexible as possible. And I think that a recognition that there is room for decentralization, there is room for being flexible in your infrastructure, has nothing to do with the myth of northern versus southern, NGO versus affected population, so forth and so on. In fact, NGOs are often walking hand in hand with the affected populations. They are those who approach us rather than the other way around. So I think that one positive message I'd like to leave is that large dams are not the only option for storage, for meeting water and energy needs. There are many very creative solutions already having been talked about this week at the forum, and I think that we should be supporting those as well.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I have to say, I myself also am leaving very optimistic. I think you can pull from this the idea that a portfolio solution seems to be widely agreed by everybody, that there is an urgent need. There are millions of people in poverty today who need access to water and energy, and that this is the common problem everyone's trying to solve. And climate change, as Rachel said, time is not on our side. So everybody knows there's an urgency. For me, it's clear you all want to go in the same direction. You have your solutions. I don't necessarily see that they're intransigent and unsolvable. And I'd like to thank you very much finally also, because I think everyone seems very excited about the fact that the World Bank is back. So that's got to be a good thing. So thank you very much to my panelists and the organizers of this debate. I hope you enjoyed it, and enjoy the rest of the forum. Thank you.